All right, welcome everybody. Ged, we're live. It is the finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep.
And what we think might be the last episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, at least for a potential season one.
Wait. What do you mean? Maybe
I don't
for
know.
season. Isn't it over?
There's rumors that they might try to extend it. I don't know how true they are. I just see it all over the place.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I'm kind of fine with where everything is.
Yeah.
But so when I woke up this morning, I thought to myself, you know what? I really want to give out my first 9+ out of 10.
Did you?
And yeah, but unfortunately, well, I don't want to spoil what my score is going to be.
You
But
don't think it's gonna? You don't think it's gonna get to that?
I feel like 2/3 of this episode were in that ballpark, and then another third was kind of, I don't know, just didn't really work for me. Do you want to talk about my negatives or my positives first?
I'm actually curious to hear what the negatives were because I think there are a ton of positives, but I'm curious to know the 33.33333% of the
Yeah.
show that didn't do it for you.
So the
And hold
part
on
that, yeah,
now, and before
yeah.
you answer this, is this based on the fact that you didn't like it, or the 6-year-old inside of you was just not happy with the way they did it?
No, this is like, I'm like, again, I'm ecstatic about the majority of the episode, but there is it's just one story thread that really kind of bothers me. I don't know if it's just me. I think it could have just not happened at all, and I would have been a lot better. So I've enjoyed the character of Riva throughout the series. I
Yeah,
know she's gotten a lot of criticism. I've actually, you and me have been pretty positive on her. In this episode, I just didn't understand why. I felt like every time we cut to Riva's part, when we were cutting away from Obi-Wan and Vader, it was almost like a letdown. Like, oh, like why are we going over there? Like, I just didn't care. I didn't get it. For one, she already is on Tatooine, and like we left the last episode with her dying, on the planet, and Vader literally in pursuit of Obi-Wan's ship. And we literally cut, and she's already on Tatooine, you know, and Vader's ship is still shooting the crap out of Obi-Wan's ship. So like timing wise, it felt very Game of Thrones esque to me. Final season, like accelerated. We're just going to get here instantly.
yeah.
Obviously she was obviously wounded in her pursuit, but like she just got impaled by a lightsaber, and I'm expected to like think that her rage, again, I question her level of rage now with what happened with Vader towards, for example, Luke. Like, did she want to kill Anakin's son as revenge? Like, we could get into all those type of things, but like how she got herself together, was able to fly all the way to Tatooine and seek out Luke for, we kind of questioned, is she going to use this to get back in favor with Vader, right? Holding that piece of evidence, but she totally kept it for herself. And given everything that happened, I think it was obvious she was never going to go through. Well, we know Luke survives. It was obvious she was never going to go through with it. But
Yeah.
I just can't help but think if Vader had just killed her at the end of episode 5, it just would have been a much better, it's a tragic, story for Riva, but that's what happens when you get slaughtered by a Sith Lord as a kid and you got brought up to the dark side, right? Like
I
I thought,
agree. I
yeah.
agree. I agree to a degree. But the question is, would you have been happier with both stories if instead of cramming it into one episode, they did a 2-part finale where it went over the struggle of her internally, the internal battle? Because I think there is a good news story here. I think that there is an incredible moment of redemption for the character Reva. But I agree. I felt like they rushed through it. Like if I could
Yeah,
have seen her struggle, not only physically, but struggle to get off that planet, to get to Tatooine, what was going on in her head a little bit more. Like I would have, like, I liked how it ended. I still like the character Reva, but I agree. It went from she's basically dying on the floor
yeah.
to she thinks she might still be mad to she gets to that point that she can't do it. Like I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that internal struggle.
Yeah, like like the character Riva is a very complex character, and they're trying to explore all these different things with her. But yeah, to your point, maybe it was just rushed. Like you
I think it's just rushed.
or you don't do it in a series that's supposed to be about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, you know what I mean? Like Obi-Wan could have just had a couple, encounters with Inquisitors, instead of going into all that depth. And mind you, the depth is what helps make the character. But I thought they just try to do a little too much with her in the final when we're in our finale with Kenobi and Anakin.
I
That's
agree.
why I could have been completely fine with her storyline ending in episode 5. So again, my why I like 66% versus 33%,
That
because
I agree with.
every time we cut away from what we all came to see, I felt, like it was just like, why? I'm just asking myself, why are we doing this when we got this going on?
I
Um,
agree. I think that if they had let the character, again, not the, I mean, it sounds morbid to say, but um if they had let that be her end,
yeah.
I think that would have been very, very cool.
Yeah. And now, like, I know, like, Star Wars, you would think a galaxy's massive, right? And big, but Star Wars has always been a very kind of, it makes everything in the galaxy seem small, right? With kind of each planet kind of has like one city, you fast travel everywhere. So, like, now that Riva's kind of been set free, now there's obviously a lot of storylines you can do with her, but like in this time frame, I think it's just getting so convoluted with characters. You know what I mean? Like we got Rebels about to start up, right? You got the rise of Ezra and stuff. You got Maul running around. Like there's all this stuff going on. And now we've introduced Riva, who survives the series. And now is she going to go out there and do good? Is she just going to go live her life? Is she going to go out
Yeah.
there and be bad? Like it just adds more there. Like maybe they have a good idea with what they want to do with her. But like, again, we're really getting into a timeline that's pretty well documented, that's been played out. But it is what it is. Hey, if we get a good, good content around her, I'll be the first to admit that I'm into it.
Yep.
But okay, so moving on.
All right.
The majority of this episode is we finally get, Kenobi, Vader again. I will say just one more last thing. I thought it was that Star Destroyer pounded on that ship for far too long. Like, I know they have a kind of a habit of doing that in Star Wars, but I thought this was even more so. It's like even Vader's like all like maximum firepower, whatever he said, and they're just pounding on the ship. And Obi-Wan has to have like 7 different conversations before he finally decides to leave.
Fair.
But I digress. So it gets set up. Well, mind you, we finally get to see the Star Destroyer in full firing and everything. Whereas the other episode, I was going to bring it up, but I didn't have time, was they kind of glossed over that. So like there's been talks about how the budget might seem a little smaller in this series.
Yep.
And when you only see the bridge and not really much else, I was like, okay, maybe that's true. But then we saw full, Vader's flagship in full glory here.
Yep.
Jason. So that was good. So we got Obi-Wan, Vader on the planet. The Grand Inquisitor is not happy with what Vader's doing, because he thinks, we got to snuff out all these rebels. Like it's just one Jedi, and Vader obviously is blind by rage.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the showdown. And I thought they did a great job with this fight. It had a little bit of everything. We got, Vader even mentioned your powers are back. We got the Obi-Wan pose in his, prior to fighting, which he's famous for. We got the one thing I thought was clever. I'm assuming everyone picked up on it. When Vader uses the Force to basically crush the ground there, create that tremor and have Obi-Wan kind of fall down. Essentially, Vader has the high ground in that moment. So I was like, yes, he's learned. I know. I was waiting for some sort of comment, but then I was like, I'm almost glad they didn't, because that might have hammed it up a little too much. But it was great to see Vader like actively take the high ground on Kenobi and then just punish him, like just bury him. And then I also really enjoyed that, in those moments you'd feel, because Kenobi obviously gets out, he feels like empowered. And normally when you see someone going through that, you're thinking, oh, he's giving in to their anger, right? Like he's full of raging. But the way they did it with Obi-Wan, seeing clips of Leia and Luke, it was almost like, no, it's almost like that will, I have to survive for them. It wasn't anger. It was purely of like hope, essentially. And it was almost like he summoned that the real true light side of the power to overcome Vader, which was great. I thought it was
You
well done.
literally took the words out of my mouth. Even his saber work when he was filled with light was so different. He flipped the saber between hands a couple times. You saw very old school Ewan McGregor, like you saw in Clone Wars, flipping sabers, or like it just it was
then just
it was
totally
so
just
good.
kind of owned Vader after that moment. And there's also too when he's smashing him with all the rocks over and over and over again. Remind me of there's the Old Republic game. There's a bunch of awesome trailers out for it. There's one where Satele does that to Malgus, like pins him up against the wall and just starts hammering him with rocks. So I thought that was kind of a cool shout out. And then we see, and like, you kind of saw it coming once Obi-Wan started slicing Vader up. You knew like they were going to copy the Rebels moment with Ahsoka, which like it was like I don't know if I want to see them do it again, but I really want to see Anakin. So really, the only way I guess is for him to slice his helmet. But then I was thinking like maybe it'd be better if Anakin almost de-helmeted himself and had that speech. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah.
But with the slice through the helmet, when you're getting it was like half Anakin's voice, half Vader's clicking in and out. I thought was pretty
really
cool
well done. It was the fight scene was borderline perfect. It wasn't like people accuse the prequels of being a little cheesy and over the top. The first movies 4, 5, 6, obviously they did the best that they could at the time. 7, 8, and 9 were raw, but almost too raw. This was brilliant. The use of sabers with force, using the environment, from tripping out his legs with rocks to the pelting of the rocks. I mean, I hesitate to say that was my favorite lightsaber battle in a live action Star Wars property.
It's a bold claim.
If you look at the mixture between realness and force hokey, I thought the balance was perfect.
Yeah, I'll have to. I like again. I'm really high on it. I'll have to go back and look at some of the choreography to see how it really lands. After obviously we've seen all the other ones millions of times, right? The one thing I thought was interesting, and I've seen people bring this up in earlier episodes, was I guess it's kind of a complaint about the music. And I really noticed it in this final battle. Like if you're comparing it to their previous battle in episode 3, right? When they're playing, when John Williams' Battle of Heroes score keeps coming in, like that soundtrack is epic and it fuels that fight. Whereas I find in this series, the score has kind of been muted a little bit. And again, it's not necessarily a bad way. It's kind of different. It's it kind of makes it I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. I don't know. Maybe it makes it a little more moody than like pump up excitement, and it's a different feel, and that's why I think excellent. I think I'll need a few more viewings to see where it truly stands in the hierarchy of lightsaber duels, but I think it's definitely better than any duel we got in the sequel trilogy. I think it's better than most of the original trilogy, although like Return of the Jedi being my favorite, like I know it's not the best duel, but it's still up there for personal reasons. Yeah, but it's up there. It's good. Well, I shouldn't say good. It was great. It was a very, very great. What did you think about Obi-Wan leaving him alive?
All I kept thinking was Obi-Wan has had the ability to crush the Empire twice in one lifetime and did nothing about it.
Yeah.
He could have ended him on Mustafar the first time. None of this would have happened.
And I think he realized at the beginning of the series, I think he felt like that was a mistake leaving him alive. And now he has the chance to finish him. And obviously we know what happens after. He had to. But now that they've given us the second battle, it's like, man, you didn't learn from your mistakes twice. I will say when they're doing the flashbacks, they're talking about mercy. You know what I mean? I guess maybe Obi-Wan was true to form as a Jedi way. Like, he left him fairly defeated, but Vader's just going to keep enacting his rage on the galaxy. So again, I question, the overall greater good might have been to end him there. So the decision on Obi-Wan's part, a little bit questionable. I liked that he called him Darth as he was leaving, because that fits in with A New Hope. Because remember in A New Hope, he calls him Darth, and everyone's like, how come he doesn't call him Vader or Anakin? He just calls him
Yeah,
just
he
straight
definitely
Darth.
sees that it's done.
Yeah.
But
And then like the play in
going
before
back,
that with he said, I don't know why you're sorry or feel whatever it was. He's like, you didn't kill Anakin, I killed
I
Anakin,
did, yeah.
which I thought was a great. Then he calls him Darth. I thought that was well done.
In terms of Obi-Wan not killing Anakin, I mean, it goes all the way back to episode 3 when Yoda tells him he needs to go face him, and he's like, you can't ask me to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So he's
can't
always,
do that. Yeah.
always, like, to me, he just returns to who he is. I mean, we can sit here and go, yes, but if you had, but
Yeah.
that's not in his character. And you had to know that Yoda knew that. Not to make this a big full circle conversation, but you can't tell me Yoda is who he is and thought that Obi-Wan was actually going to finish the job. There's no way.
Yeah. Mind you, yeah, and in Revenge of the Sith, there was no other option though, right? It was just Yoda and Obi-Wan. And
Yep.
Obi-Wan wasn't strong enough to face the Emperor. What was else? There was one more part I was going to say. It'll come back to me. So once Anakin kind of gets, cut up, he goes back and we get Palp's cameo. What did you think of Palpatine? I was hoping to be honest, I was hoping we'd see him in person, like show up and kind of discipline Anakin or Vader for letting the rebel cell go, because probably Palpatine's like, that whole rebel cell is way more important than just Kenobi. Like at this point in the stage, like Palpatine's won, right? He's already building the Empire. He doesn't view that one Jedi as a threat, but that seed of a rebellion is probably a lot more threatening. So I was expecting some discipline, and we got, just kind of like a daddy check-in call.
Yeah.
But either way, I think it's nice to see Ian McDermott back.
I like that he had a piece. Yes,
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see him, but I think if you saw him, it would drag it out. And they obviously wanted to get this done in one episode.
Yeah, I thought Vader,
So,
I don't know, Vader
kind of
went back in line real quick, just like, yes, master, like Kenobi's no,
that's just
whatever.
it. Was he lying?
Yeah, I don't know.
Kenobi means nothing, but you can't say that somebody means nothing, but you basically have the ability to wipe out any chance of a rebellion, and you chase one small dude in a small ship.
Yeah, we just spent multiple episodes with you seething, foaming at the mouth for this guy, and it's just like, oh yeah, sorry, Palpatine.
Did you see the one small kind of plot hole?
Which one?
Well, he gets off the ship to divert Vader away.
Yeah.
Which basically leaves the people in that rebellion ship alone to follow him to that planet.
Yeah.
Why he didn't take 2 to 3 minutes to lead him away, maybe 5 minutes, and then jump to hyperspace.
Oh. Or even, now that you bring it up, why didn't Vader just follow Kenobi in the shuttle and then the Star Destroyer keep pursuing the rebels?
Like, or everyone get in the little
send
ship.
out your entire, flight squadron of TIE fighters. Like,
yeah,
I know,
cram 30 people into that ship and hit hyperspace. Like
Star Wars logic. Yeah, the second Vader went off that Star Destroyer, like the Grand Inquisitor should have took control and said, okay, after the rebels.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But that's okay. I mean, it's
like, again, like Star Wars doesn't make the most. Yeah, they always don't make the most logical decisions, but it is what it is. Again,
did it bother you that the Luke character never has a line?
Considering Leia's role?
Yeah. The kid doesn't say a word.
Yeah, it would have been nice to say, like, hi, I'm Luke, or something like that.
Yeah.
To even end it when they lets him meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite moment of the entire show is very cheesy. Aside from the lightsaber battle, which obviously gets its own moment, is the very end where he admits to Leia that she is perceptive. And then he lists the traits of her mother and lists the traits of her father.
I liked that.
Oh, God. It was
and on top of that, I enjoyed that. And I actually got a little emotional when he started listing Anakin's traits.
So did I. 100%.
And then, lots been made about the Leia message in A New Hope, right? I almost feel like this was a good way to do it, because Obi-Wan sits her down and says, listen, like, you can't, no one can know
Yeah.
about, you know what I mean? Like, so it almost makes sense that now fits. And then I was thinking about it too. If you were 10 and you say you spent a weekend with your crazy uncle, and then you're like, I don't know what she is in A New Hope, 20, 19, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you randomly, you want to talk to your uncle again. You've only seen him that one time ever, and like 10 years has passed. You might say, hey,
No.
Obi-Wan.
No. People just need to be okay with the fact that it doesn't fit.
No, I think it does fit better now the way they've done it. The more I've
Yeah,
thought
I mean,
about it.
they
Yeah.
saved it a bit, but it needs to be just okay with the fact that in 1978 they didn't think that this might happen. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, and it's
yeah,
to fit everything. It is what it is. That's
yeah.
why people can't
I'm
be
more
too
cheesed
critical.
that they left the Reva character alive and didn't give her that moment of glory at the end where she tried. It came full circle. Like,
Yeah,
that's the only part of that episode that kind of cheesed me a little bit because it's full enough. But
yeah, and they had an
in terms
opportunity
of the
to make
message of New
Vader
Hope, it's
that
fine.
much more ruthless by cutting down Reva. Like, instead
Yeah.
of just poking her, you could have just literally decapitated her there.
Yeah.
Or fatally impaled her. Like we see all through the original trilogy, he
Give her the
chokes out
Dooku.
officers all the time. He kills people for insubordinates. Like, it's nothing.
Give her
Right?
the
Like,
Dooku.
that's a trait of Vader.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to touch on is
Yeah.
literally the second note I have written about this episode was as a negative. Another Qui-Gon no-show, because he asked for Qui-Gon in episode 1, didn't show up. In the beginning of this one, he asked for Qui-Gon, and he doesn't show up. So I wrote down right away, I'm pissed that they couldn't pull off that cameo.
But he showed up at the end.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But then we get to the very end and he finally shows up. I was saying, like, the second note I wrote, like, as the episode was going on, I'm like, man, like, did Liam Neeson really not want to do this show? Like, what's going on? But we get him at the end finally. It was just, we didn't get a lot of lines from him. It was just basically, now that you're ready to see me. I was hoping we might see like more guidance type appearances from him throughout it, but we didn't get that. But hey, we got him in the end. So in the end, we get the Qui-Gon cameo and we get a Palpatine cameo, which I thought is quite fitting for this series. If we were going to get two of them, this would be it. My biggest regret that they didn't do in this series was I thought they could have did a hair more flashbacks with Hayden. And I thought since, Rosario is also in the studio getting pumped up for Ahsoka, like, why couldn't you have the flashback with the three of them? Like, it would tie the Clone Wars animated show into live action so coolly.
Well, the question is now, are we going to get some flashbacks in Ahsoka? Ahsoka's attachment to Anakin is unfathomable in a very appropriate manner.
Well, they have said that. I think they've said that Anakin has been cast as the rumor in Ahsoka. So that's likely. So then, I don't know. Now I'm going to have the opposite question. Can we get Ewan McGregor cast in Ahsoka for those flashbacks? I don't know. I just want to see the three of them together.
Ewan McGregor in general in Ahsoka.
Yeah. Just give us the three together. Just one shot. It doesn't have to be anything. Just a little combo.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this up again. Let's give it a score. I'll go first because I alluded that I really wanted to give this a 9, but part of the episode did not work for me. I am quite happy with it though, so I'm going to go 8.8 on this one.
I'm going to be the exact same.
Yeah, I think
exact same. It was incredibly well done. I really wanted to give it a 9 as well. Reva not having like an epic finale did bother me a little bit. But like, we are drawing at straws. Like 8.8 for us is a humongous score. So
I think it's might be the biggest score I've given out since we've given number ratings. Again, like, the episode had potential. It's just the Reva storyline in this episode. I felt it just took too much away from what was going on for how little impact I felt that.
Yeah, and I loved the character. Loved, as you said, the complexity of the character, Reva.
Yeah. And again, it's been stated by multiple people. We've talked about it. Her story should have just wrapped up in episode 5.
Yeah, I agree.
And it would have been, that would have made probably episode 5 that much better. And then that would have allowed us, instead of those shots with Reva, we could have got more flashbacks in this episode. You know what I mean?
Oh, I would have loved the episode to start with her there, and then having flashbacks to like positive memories of that childhood.
Yeah.
Like that to me would have just been an epic way to finish. Anyway.
All right,
Yeah, that'd be
so that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Pretty
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah.
Just off the cusp, I think it was better than the Book of Boba Fett.
Agreed.
I don't know if it reached the heights of Mando. It's close, but I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Like Mando season 2 still holds a pretty special place.
I'm gonna give this to Obi-Wan over Mando
Yeah,
because there was zero expectations for the Mandalorian.
yeah,
So we're blown away because our expectations were on the floor. The expectations for Obi-Wan for the 45 years or whatever of fans
yeah.
is so unfathomably large. The fact that people aren't trashing it means it was a massive success. When you can reach the expectations of the majority for a character like Obi-Wan, that is a humongous accomplishment, and it's important that we don't short-side that.
Yeah,
So
and
I will give it to Obi-Wan because at the end of the day, they completely delivered on the character of Obi-Wan. They completely delivered on Ewan McGregor, and they made an incredible series that gave us the character we all know as Leia. It showed glimpses of her Force sensitivity with reading the way that people are. I mean, I was blown away by it.
yeah, and you bring a good point up. I think we've talked about it before. Like, hey Disney, give us some more. Give us unique stories. So there's a reason why the Mando was so successful is because it wasn't really, at least season 1, tied to really anything that we knew. It's an open book. You know what I mean? Like part of the sequel trilogy is they tried to shoehorn in all the original trilogy characters with it, and everyone got pissed with how those character arcs turned out. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
give us some more shows that are completely unique, which is I think is what Taika Waititi is going to be doing with his movie. But yeah, that is it for us, everyone. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of the finale of Kenobi? Did the Kenobi series more or less meet or exceed your expectations? And yeah, we'll talk to you, hopefully soon.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Peace out, everyone.
Cheers.